our audio-visual person. It's official.
Not really.
You've been elected. Okay, if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Flag is right over there. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got a little, yeah, you got to kind of. We'll print you out a copy next time. Okay, no students not, okay, all right. So at this time we're going to open we're going to start with the recognition of visitors, and basically with the public participation at board meetings, the policy is, we have, we give each person up to 5 minutes, and if there's more than one person who wants to speak on a particular topic, we ask that they kind of combine what they're going to do together, and then go from there. But and do we have Mr. Grissom and Mr. Grissom are both signed up to speak? Is your subject matter the same? No?
I think he might have something different.
Okay. And then Mr. Kaleo?
It's about mass.
Okay, all right. Okay, then we will go ahead and start with, and then this is the time for audience participation, if you will. So then once we start the meeting, it will be basically a board meeting at that point. So we'll go ahead and start with recognition of visitors. Mr. Grissom, Senior, sir.
Yeah, I felt bad that I couldn't make the last meeting about the mask mandate because I had a deacon meeting after church, and you're the chairman of the committee, I'll be there. So I wasn't able to get there, but I was a little surprised at how that went. And I've been a resident of Randolph for 32 years and seen a lot of changes over time. I've seen people in the school system, teachers, and everybody just flip around like crazy, band directors, everything. And just been a lot of changes going on in the school and in the community with, in my opinion, kind of unrealistic zoning for a rural community. But anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was I did do some research on things, and I've been, ever since this virus thing came out, at first I think I was like everyone that said, wow, what is this? But then the more time went on and things started happening, I started thinking, things aren't making sense. So I started doing research and keeping up with things, and I'm shocked at where we're at, and even in the schools and everything that's going on. One of the things that I understand you're a government school, and a lot of times when the government says you do something, you gotta do it. But sometimes us as the people in the community should have some say also. Like I said, I've been doing some research, and I know the governor, he can't make a mask mandate because the Senate of Ohio took that authority away from him. He can't do it. So he said, well, now it's going to be up to the schools and the leaders and the parents. And I don't think that you guys took in the parents' view when you voted to do that. So DeWine doesn't have the power to do it anymore, so he left it up to us. And last year there was an article in the New England Journal of Medicine, and this is when I started doing some research. And it started saying that masks do nothing. And I know there's people that say it does, but the New England Journal of Medicine says it's nothing more than symbolic. And I made an extra copy, and I'll leave a couple copies of everything I'm using tonight so you understand. But it says the expanded masking protocol's greatest contributions may be to reduce the transmission of anxiety. It has nothing to do with the virus. It has everything to do with, it makes you feel protected. You're not protected. There's been other studies that I've read that says, well, if you're going to wear a mask, what happens if you get something in your eyes? Everybody has to wear goggles. I mean, there's no end to it. There's just another article just came out from a doctor that says masking children is about power control, not science. And again, I did go on your website and I looked up what you used for mask research. And to be honest with you, I was kind of shocked because two of the references blew me away. One of them says the case study in Thailand, and another one was a case study in Beijing, China. Why do we believe anything that China says? But this is what you have on your website of why you made your decision. I would rather use American doctors in American places like that. The other thing that we talk about when we talk about the virus, and you said, people say, well, it's another flu. And it is, it's another flu virus. They're making you believe that it's this deadly thing out there that's going to kill us all. That is not true. If you do research, if you watch television, we're all going to die. But that's not true. Years ago when my kids were in school and they had flu, if it got serious where like 20% of the school was sick, you might close the school. If there was 3 kids with the flu, you just kept going. What changed? Why are we doing this? Well, the change is you're listening to the wrong people. The one thing that I'm on the website and then I go on to this Department of Health and they're saying they're going to want all children 12 years and older to get the vaccine. That is crazy. You shouldn't do that. I have all kinds of people that I know in the health field that say you should never vaccinate a child. We don't know enough. They're talking about possible reproductive problems. Yeah, we go on and on about that. But again, here's the CDC. The CDC website. I went on there and I got this, and it talks about the vaccine. And it says what you need to know. It can cause blood clots. It can cause heart disease. And it says it's had cases of Guillain-Barré disease, which is like a minor stroke. Then it also says that it can cause death. This is the vaccine, not the virus. The vaccine, according to CDC, the death rate is 0.0019. That sounds pretty small, doesn't it? You say, well, that's really 99.99% of the people aren't going to die from the vaccine. Then if you go to the state of Ohio and you pull up the numbers, since the start of the virus, we've had 20,000 deaths in Ohio out of 11.7 million people. That's 0.0017, less than the vaccine. If I go and I use just the numbers from December till January 1st, December till now, which is what the CDC used on their thing, we've had 7,000 deaths in Ohio from the virus. 0.0006% of the people have died of the virus. The other thing that these charts show, 2/3 of the deaths were over 70 years old. The median age is 79 years old for the death. So here's the other thing that I'm upset about. I'm a grandparent. Because of the school and stuff, the things that are shared to our kids, they're afraid to visit their grandparents. Because we're putting in their minds, if my grandkids come and see me, and I die of a heart attack, not of the virus, if I die, you're putting the pressure on our kids saying, you can kill your grandparents. That's what's in the news. Don't go visit your grandparents if you're not masked because you might kill them. Is that what you want our kids to know? It's just so upset. And I go through the statistics again on the deaths. People don't know this. We've lost 60,000 people every year to the flu. We've lost another 160,000 people every year to lower respiratory. Same thing we're losing now. 250,000 a year, been happening year after year. Nobody even pays attention. There's another book that I was reading, and this has just blew me away. And the name of the book is Rabid Virus Recovery. It's written by a group of doctors. And it says there's no case is panic or fear in order. And then he talks about the fear of scaring people about the mask and social distancing. And he says, why is a vaccine necessary when the targeted infection or toxin can be prevented or cured? And he goes through this. I don't understand why what's going on in our nation. Our doctors are not treating it. I've lost one good friend from the COVID, was put in the hospital, no one could visit, and he died alone because of our stupid rules. Here's another article. Former advisor VP, your government is lying to you. These are just articles. So when you guys made those choices, I thought, where are they getting their information? Because everything I look at that doesn't come through government says this isn't true. So then I just, a couple other little points, kind of shifted the focus here a little bit. But you know, all I hear about is if we could pass a levy, all our problems would go away. That doesn't work. You can just ask the government about that because they just keep wanting more money and the problems just keep getting bigger. I have a concern, and I'm not going to get into it today, but I am going to get into it in another meeting about the curriculum of the school. I don't think we're teaching kids things today. It's like I was telling Angela earlier, I said, you know, back when my kids were in school, I was going 100 miles an hour. You're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week at your job. You got so much going on. You just kind of go along with it. Well, now I don't have that. I can just, so I've been doing a lot of research. I stopped at a fast food place the other day, and I normally don't do that, but I pulled up to the window. My bill was $5.04. I gave the teenage girl, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, a $10 bill and 10 cents. She got a calculator out, and then after about a minute, she says, "I'm sorry, sir, I don't know what to give you in change." I gave her $10.10 for a $5.04. I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. And then they talk about the Common Core math, and again, I'm gonna get into this more. You know, they say 2 + 2 is 4, and everybody says, well, why is it 4? Because it's the truth, it's 4. There's no why. But we're just teaching things that are crazy. The other thing that scares me, now there's an article I just came across in a magazine that I get about how colleges now they're going to be spending millions of dollars on mental health for the college students because they can't handle the real world. Now we got to spend money because they're coming out of school and they're not knowing what they're doing. You know, in my business, I did a lot of studies on millennials. I was trying to figure out millennials, still haven't figured them out. But I read some studies on them. And this is what's so scary, and this is why I am concerned about the future of our schools and our nation. They did a study on college campus. They asked millennials, and this was about 10 years ago, when do you feel you have become an adult? And they couldn't get an answer. And they said, well, you know, back in previous generations at age 18, you become an adult, because legally you become an adult. And the college kids said, oh no. Of course, we give them health care till they're 26. The most common answer after they pressed a little bit was, well, we become an adult when we have our first child. And then they say, well, you're not having kids till you're 30. Well, that's about right. So we raised a whole generation of people that don't even think they're an adult till they're 30. I'm just concerned about where the future of our nation is going. You know, again, back to the school and the growth and the future, you know, I know the numbers of the school has gone way down. I mean, there's not that many kids in the school. And I don't see that changing. I did some more research, and they did research on the population in the state of Ohio. Right now, it's 11.7 million. In 2030, they say it'll be 11.7 million. There's going to be no growth in Ohio. So for you guys to say so strong, and so I want to be independent, I want to keep, and I know it wasn't a very popular thing, but back when Representative McKinney came, and he told you, you're probably going to have to merge or do something with your school, and everybody, I had one lady tell me after the last meeting, she says, well, Representative McKinney's nothing but a jerk. I said, no, he's not a jerk. He's a very good man at Chapel in Akron. He worked at the church there for a long time. He's a judge in Barberton, does tons of community work and effort. He's a good man. He's not a jerk. So, but nobody listened. They just said, oh, I'm just, and you know, someone on the board even said, oh, I tuned him out after, and then he was telling the truth, but no one wanted to listen. And that's where I feel we're at now. Everybody's listening to this spin that's going around in government, and the president was on today and saying, I'm gonna make masks everywhere forever. Why? Show me the proof. I just look at proof and there's nothing there. So that's where my concern is. Like I said, in another meeting, I'll bring up the curriculum. I have some concerns on that. I've been doing some reading on that and through the website, and with what you gave me, I've been reading through all that also. So, but I just wanted to make the point that I think when you made the mask mandate, I think that was an error on your place. All I know is everybody I've talked to has been a little ticked off about it, and I think it's gonna hurt you when it comes voting time. So that's what I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grissom. Mr. Grissom?
Yeah, I just want to bring up the whole band thing that I brought up last meeting. I had asked you, because you guys got those donations, and if the band was eligible for it, you said they weren't because it's a grade. Now, for the fall sports, when they pay to play, what does that go to? Does that go to transportation? You said you don't buy uniforms. So does that go for their uniforms? Does that go for transportation? Or what exactly does that $150 go to for pay to play?
It goes to offset the cost of the sport of athletics in general.
Okay, so, but it would include transportation and all that.
Yeah, including transportation and
With that said, then,
supplementals and
can the band get the transportation, because they pay $50 per kid to pay for transportation too. So in my understanding, that's the same thing as a sport,
Right.
because they're paying for transportation. And then the rental of the instruments should be the same thing. But I mean, I'm still gonna be pushing for that.
I had thought about this real hard about the donation. Unfortunately, that donation came by somebody that specifically said that's where that donation wanted to go to.
It wasn't.
We debated on what we as a board debated on where we thought
$14,000.
it, I mean, you yourself can donate that exact amount of money all on your own and say, I only want this to go to band.
band.
Fall
And that's,
sports though.
no,
that's what,
That pay to play for fall sports adds up to $14,000.
yes,
even if it didn't add up to $14,000, that donor wanted that specific money to only go
Okay, but
to
where's the
pay to
extra
play.
go to? I
Okay.
just can't see,
We're
that.
gonna-
I mean, you're talking 1,000 kids playing sports.
okay. You want?
Well, when he wanted to donate, he actually wanted to donate a little bit of a lesser amount, and we got the numbers of kids for each fall sport, and then we calculated it, and it was the amount that he donated. So he did ask for reference as far as how many kids were playing for each.
Well, yeah, there was 3 donations though. There was 2 from Sarch Young, and then there was 1 from another guy.
No.
No, they
that's
all
not
came from
correct.
the same guy,
It
but
was all
different
from the same
locations.
guy. He
The same
collected it
guy,
from the
different
3
locations.
But in your board meeting, it shows was a 10,000 donation.
He's the
from
general
Sarch Young, there was a
manager.
3,000 donation from Sarch Young, and then the Jonathan guy.
Actually, it wasn't Charshone.
It wasn't
It was
Charshone,
Bob, it was Serpentini.
Serpentini.
And he's the general manager.
And he's the general manager of Serpentini.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, but all right, I'm still gonna.
So he told us, he earmarked the money.
Yes.
Yes.
The people that donated earmarked the money, what they wanted to spend for. And that's where it went. I mean, you know,
Okay,
if,
now, I got another question, because my daughter's in high school, she's a junior. And on the open house, the schedule was all messed up. She wanted art, they gave her psychology. There's a couple other classes she didn't want. It's been a week now, and she's still going psychology. Now, is she gonna be stuck in psychology for the rest of the year, even though she didn't want to take it?
have you talked to the principal and the guidance counselor?
I have not, my daughter keeps saying that they're gonna fix it, they're gonna fix it.
Yeah, you need to talk, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
talk to Lauren and Laura, and then Mrs. Willis and the guidance counselor. They'll be able to help you with that.
That's all I got.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
actually, about your band stuff, I actually asked, what the money that you guys pay goes to, and transportation was never mentioned in that.
Yeah,
So-
because I mentioned it last time, where I had a sheet
Separate fee.
last time that we had to turn in.
Have you talked to Denise Weaver or any of the band booster people about that?
It's a separate fee.
My wife's a band booster, but,
Because,
I mean, she had, I brought the printed sheet out when you asked me the last meeting, what does it cost? And I went down the cost, and transportation is on it. Because it's $50 per kid. So if I can find that paper through Mr. McKinney, I'll bring it into the next meeting, because I know it is on.
Okay, So, Mr. Kaleo, thank you, Mr. Grissom.
Thank you. I wanted to take a moment tonight to share my thoughts on Waterloo's mask policy. I can't begin to express how strongly I believe our students and our community deserve in-person learning. From data compiled by the Ohio Education Association, as of Tuesday, September 7th, so this is for the 2021-2022 school year, 17 districts throughout Ohio have had disruptions due to COVID-19, whether it was entire grades, buildings, or districts that had to close and go remote. Of these 17 districts, 16 of the 17 did not require masks. The best thing for our students and for our community is for our students to be in the building environment. I think we can all agree on that. And I believe that the data, it shows that mask requirements give us the best chance for this to happen. Without a mask mandate, I feel that Waterloo would be looking at another school year of disruption, right? And no one wants that. Therefore, I just wanted to thank our school board for taking the steps needed to keep our kids in the building environment. So thank you. And then thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, appreciate all your comments from everyone. And at this time, we will call to order the regular meeting of the Waterloo Local Board of Education. Roll call, please, Todd.
Mr. Busitzer?
Here.
Mrs. Brock?
Here.
Mrs. Hagan?
Here.
Mrs. Walsh?
Here.
Mr. Wheeler?
Here.
Okay, so can we have a motion to adopt the listed agenda for tonight's meeting?
Motion.
A second, please.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? Roll call, please, Tom.
Mrs. Brock?
Yes.
Mrs. Hagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Busitzer?
Yes, motion passes. Brings us to item 5, the President's Report. Just wanted to mention that, you know, we do have a 1% income tax, earned income tax on the ballot in November 2nd, I believe, but we haven't got an issue number yet, to the best of my knowledge. That should be coming up here within the next couple weeks anyhow. And so, you know, it is a 1% earned income tax. It's down from the previously we had asked for 1.5%. It's an emergency measure with a 5-year lifespan. If we would have to renew it in 5 years. If we don't, it would just go away. So the nice thing is because of the ESSER funds, which that we got, we were able to maintain our programming as we had in the past couple of years, and able to reduce our ask from 1.5% to 1%. So we would ask everybody please to help support us there and see what we can do on November 2nd. So, and we will be there's going to be a candidates night in Randolph, Atwater, and we're probably going to, I hear rumors that there's going to be one here. So possibly also. So please stay tuned and, you know, please attend and appreciate everybody supporting us. So, and at that, I do want to dovetail. I'm sorry, I'm debating if I want to say this or not, but you know, Mr. Kaleo mentioned about the statistics of people born the schools that have had major disruptions. And I don't know, you know, how all that is, but I do know somewhat of how things have affected us. We currently have, let's say, 8 to 10 students in the elementary building. Am I allowed to stop? 8 to 10 students in the elementary building that are quarantined. Because of the mask policy, just those 8 or 10 students are quarantined. If we didn't have the mask policy, and for every one kid that's quarantined, there might be another 10 or so that would be quarantined also. So instead of 8, we would have 80. And that's not, we have no say in that, right? The CDC sets the contact and how they trace it and all that kind of stuff. So if we looked at 80 students would be missing, they have to miss 7 days. That's 560 days of education they would miss. That's the equivalent of 3 students not coming to school the entire year. So, you know, I think that is kind of dovetails with what Mr. Kaleo said, is that, you know, the whole idea is to keep the students in school. And by doing that, you know, we've been in school 6 days. So, I mean, so that's kind of, I mean, when you look at things that way, to me, while nobody likes the masks, I think the students have adjusted to them very well. I don't, and the kids are excited to be back in school, and they want to be back in school live and in person and all those kind of things. So I just wanted to say that, you know, I think that when you look at those numbers, the statistics there, I think that that makes, you know, it's the rules that we have to play by. So I think that's the best opportunity we have to have the kids in school. So, okay, superintendent's report.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on that really fast. We have some area schools that have quarantined their entire football team. And so unfortunately, they have to miss certain games of the season. And we were really afraid with homecoming being very early this year, at the last week of September as well, quarantining the football team or, God forbid, canceling the dance or whatnot. Again, not so much about the virus contagious, it's about our quarantine rules that we have to abide by. And so we want to keep kids in here, and we want our athletes to continue playing and our band people to continue performing. And we really did believe that that was the best way in order to do that. And knock on wood, you know, our football team is okay, our soccer, volleyball, they've been able to continue to play as well as our band continue to perform too. Okay, professional development week. We had 3 days of professional development. In your folder of goodies, we'll see the 3 wordles that we created. One of the activities that we did as a staff is to look at the big concepts of education, climate, and systems of support. You know, the type of educational system we wanted to continue to create, the climate we wanted to continue to create. Staff members volunteered some feedback, words or phrases that represented that. In addition to how they best receive support, because that was a little different for everybody. You gather the feedback and created the wordles that you see in front of you, and the bigger the word is, the more that it was stated by a response for the staff. So it's just a way for us to kind of come together and set our intentions for the beginning of the school year. We had trainings on teacher-based teams. You know, the administration team is extremely committed to setting up systems of support for this new teacher evaluation system. So teacher-based teams will allow teachers to collaborate with one another regarding the data, state data, the STAR data, the under assessments that we administer, and then classroom data, and then talk about how we can make some changes or some tweaks in our programming and instruction in order to continuously improve. So we got some training on that. And then we finished up our training on the new teacher evaluation system with the concept of high quality student data. So super busy day for all of our teachers and our staff, 3 days. And we are going to send out, I haven't done it yet, but we're going to send out a Google form to collect feedback from the staff as far as how effective they thought the professional development was. So when we plan for next year, in our future waiver days, we can take into consideration that feedback. Okay. Start of school. All systems are go. The kids are in. You know, our little kindergartners and our preschoolers are starting full time too. Had to do a little rearrangement in lunches just to balance out the lunches and make sure there was enough room for everybody. But overall, I know the administrative team, myself included, have been popping in and out of lunches. We were at our car rider line, the buses, in and out of classrooms, and things seem to go very smoothly. We are working on the car rider line. We know that's been a point of frustration in the past couple of days. We didn't know if it was something that we had to tweak or if it was just the start of school. And those preschoolers sometimes take a minute to get out of the car. I'm just kidding. They don't move very fast, you know? I tell Vanessa, they're like little turtles. Their backpack is bigger than they are, so then when they fall backwards and I'm trying to like guide them in. It's a new experience for me. But so they're a little bit of a slow boat, but better safe than sorry. Safety first is what I say. But we are brainstorming other ideas so that people don't have to be in the car rider line very long, especially since the weather is going to be turning soon. This Friday night football game is the recognition of those in military service. So we're super excited for that. We're encouraging everyone to wear red, white, and blue. We'll do a recognition of everybody who has served in the military at the game. We are also doing at 5 o'clock a building tour for the class of 1971. So that's gonna be exciting because it's gonna be happening. So that we're excited to have them back in our building and being able to connect with them and show off what a cool school we are. Strategic plan has started. So the consultants have met with the classified staff, and again, it's all voluntary, so, and gathered feedback from the classified staff. I started parent phone calls regarding the focus group for the parents, and so far I've called about 15 parents, and all 15 have said yes. And we have a couple other phone calls to make. The teachers and the administration, focus groups are this in the month of September as well. So that's going along quite well. And then I was just gonna touch on the levy as well. We had an open meeting on Monday to discuss progress on the levy. Some of the mailings that we are sending home, the town hall, as Brian had mentioned, our meet the candidate night is October 19th at 7 p.m. because we have 3 people running for the board, and then I will do a discussion on the levy as well there. And then we're talking about trying to get registrations, voter registration. So we had a staff member volunteer to run our voter registration table at the football game this Friday, so we'll be doing that as well. So, and I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. And Mr.
Harrison.
Harrison. I wanted to say Mr. Tom, and I was gonna say Tom, and it's, no,
That's all right.
Mr. Harrison.
I can go by a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people are aware that elementary really have to focus on math and especially all the skills related to language arts. And so I'm going to be speaking to some of the changes we're making in language arts. The other thing about an elementary schedule is the specials. That's where the students rotate around and they go to the gym, they go to art, they go to computers. But we're focusing on language arts in our specials as well. We have a program called Foundations. It's going to be handled both by general education classroom teachers and as well as title teachers. This is a program that develops phonemic awareness, phonics, reading fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and other language skills. So you can see it's very comprehensive and it's very, very important. It also provides, this program also provides multiple resources for the teachers so they can, that includes even progress monitoring. So that's also very important. You know, where the students start from, you know, and where they end up, how to get there. And that's some of the data that you know, we're looking at. That's one of the things we're doing. The other thing we're doing, and we had it last year, but it's called reading enrichment. But we are, and that's for 2nd and 3rd graders, and this is being taught by the title staff as well. And this is being restructured right now to meet student needs. And basically, we're getting into additional phonics. It's going to reinforce a lot of what they learned in the what's it called again, foundations. That's hard to remember. I keep wanting to say foundations, but foundations. And so the whole bottom line is we're really pushing, really focusing on the students learning their language arts skills. And one of the things that the teachers have already noticed is that our, last year was very disrupted and everything. And so they've noticed that we're a little behind in our phonics skills. So we're going to push that because we recognize that already in these 5 years. So that's what we're doing in the elementary building so far. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, the middle school and high school.
All right, so we did something different at the middle school this year. We held class meetings, and it was good for a lot of reasons. It outlined expectations, guidelines, processes, procedures, and all of that. But in addition, it allowed all of the students to see their support system, both academic and social emotional. It was myself, Angela attended, Mr. DeVise attended, and our counselor, Mrs. Nicely, attended. So it was nice. We had students ask questions, and they were able to really get a good feeling about who we are. I've had several students in my office already, and it usually doesn't happen that quick. So it makes me happy because we're that support model for them. We purchased Common Lit 360 for our middle school, and it's a more aligned assessment that it's for English regarding, it's gonna help with our standards and really help us move forward in the English department. So we're excited to implement that. And I wanted to shout out our middle school volleyball and cross-country teams. They're doing an outstanding job. Our cross-country runners are, they're really shining. They're doing a phenomenal job, and they should be very proud of themselves. For high school, we welcomed several foreign exchange students, and they're coming from Italy, Denmark, Belgium, and Uruguay. Hopefully I said that right. And it's just, I'm looking forward to getting to know them. It's really nice to have them in our district. We also held class meetings at the high school, but theirs were a little bit more geared towards expectations, policies, all of that, but also talking about seals, graduation requirements, how we can support them through CCP, how we can support them in writing reference letters, you know, really helping them as they grow and eventually leave us as adults in our community. We have our first pep rally tomorrow, which I'm really excited for. It's for the Military Appreciation Pep Rally, so that will then extend to the Military Appreciation Game tomorrow night. As a whole, our district started curriculum mapping, and I know Angela alluded to this with our professional development. We spent a lot of time working with consultants from the Educational Service Center during our PD days, and it's awesome because that's their bread and butter. That's their experts in this area. And it's really going to help us for K-12 to align our curriculums and make sure that we're all working together for the betterment of our students. We also, with that, as Angela also talked about with the TBTs, the teacher-based teams, we're going to be continuing this process all year long, you know, and really building on that as we continue throughout the year. And lastly, we are introducing a social emotional learning committee. And we've elected several teachers to be on this committee with us. And it is going to focus on ways that we can help support our students in their social emotional needs. And there are certain trainings that we're going to be attending and putting some resources in place to help with that. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, legislative update. Heather,
Amber.
I'm sorry, Amber. Shoot, names are trouble for me.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Would you shine?
My sister's name is
turn
Amber, so I'm used to
Turn
it.
your tags towards me so I can get you. There you go, thank you. Amber.
I have nothing.
Okay. Okay, Maplewood.
I do, and I feel like a broken record here after Angela. But we have, Maplewood has a 3 million renewal levy that's coming up on the ballot, as well as obviously Waterloo. That's no differences, that's no cost to the community. Angela shared with me today that Waterloo is sending our counselor once a week over to Maplewood for the social emotional and just to be there so they can feedback and bring our information to them. They can bring the information back to us so we don't have a disconnect this year. And then on to the COVID quarantine. We started off Maplewood with no masks. As of yesterday, we were at 6.2%. Today we went to 10. They decided to, at 10%, they were gonna mask up. It doesn't sound like a big number, but for Maplewood, the 6.2, that was 75 students being quarantined. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was 10 students that was out with the COVID caused 75 students to be quarantined. So, and I get when you say, you know, the data stuff, it's keeping the kids in school, the mask. So as of tomorrow, Maplewood will be going back to wearing the mask for the purpose of keeping the kids in education and classrooms. That's all I got.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Any new business that any other board members would like to bring up at this time?
It was my phone, Brian. We skipped over the People Services Department update.
That's
Do you
fine.
mind if we do that real fast? And I didn't put it on.
Okay.
It was really my mistake.
Oh, no, it's on there, I just jumped right over it.
Is that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
See, I took that, See, I can return that favor sometime, yeah.
That's backup.
All right, so just really quickly, pupil services, for those that don't know what that means, that's special education, that's gifted, that's preschool, that's English language learners, the umbrella's kind of big. So just a few quick updates. I'm excited to say that for the first time in, I don't know how many years, we are formally serving students that have been identified as gifted. We have been doing some algebra for 8th grade students, but this year we are serving both 6th grade and 7th grade in ELA. And it's not just as easy as saying, hey, we're gonna service these students. Our 2 teachers that are providing these services have to go through some extensive training in order to be considered someone that is providing, so they're getting some professional development on that. And then the students will be receiving written education plans. So those are plans similar to an IEP, but for a student that's gifted. So that is happening this year. We are super excited. Mrs. Benson, who happens to be here tonight, is one of our teachers who's doing it. So we're super excited that she is, taking that by the horns and providing those services to our students. So it's kind of gifted. From another, department update. Portage DD came in at the beginning, just before school started, and did a crisis prevention intervention training for about 30 of our staff members for no charge to our district, which was super exciting for me. So this was special education staff, it was lunch aides, recess aides, office aides, administration, all kinds of other staff that are working with students. And so the whole point of this training is to recognize when students' behavior is escalating and help de-escalate it before it becomes a crisis. So we were super excited that they could provide that training to us, especially at no cost. And then Portage DD is also coming out to a couple of our classrooms, and they're going to be doing some social skills classes. Again, no charge to the district. And so these are things that are talking about problem solving and skills and self-advocacy, as well as some self-control. So we're excited to have them in the district. They'll be coming about once a week, and it is a year. And then lastly, at our open house, thanks to Stephanie Sullivan, she gathered some parent resources for us, and had them coming into our district for open house. So we had 7 different resources for families here. Children's Advantage, Ohio Means Jobs, NAMI, Portage DD, Rural Relief Food Pantry, Atwater Randolph, and Suffolk and Family Community Services. And so our goal for that is really just making sure that we were connecting parents with the services they needed, whether it was food, whether it was mental health, whether it was assistance in other areas, transportation, et cetera. A couple of those agencies will deal with that as well. So we were excited to be able to get them in the district for open house to meet some of our needs. That's it for us. Oh, and preschool, we're excited to have our littlest ones back in. They are really, really cute. So enrollment is up from last year, which is exciting for me. And not as high as it's been in years past, but I think, it is just a sign of where we are. But we're super excited to have them back in. We are still a voluntary 5-star step up to quality school, which means that we not only meet licensing requirements, but we also exceed them and do these other voluntary rules and regulations to keep our program at the top of the programs here in the state of Ohio. So that's it. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you. And we apologize for skipping you.
It's fine.
Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. Just making sure, though, nobody had any new business, correct? Okay. All right, may we have a motion to adopt to approve the consent agenda as listed?
I make motion?
A second, please?
I can second that.
Okay. Anything you would like to detail, Angela, or any questions from any board members at this point? No. Okay. All right, great. Roll call, please, Todd?
Mrs. Brock,
Yes.
Mrs. Wheeler,
Yes.
Mrs. Walsh,
Yes.
Mrs. Hagan,
Yes.
Mr. Busatary.
Yes, motion passes. Making sure here. Okay, so can we have a Can we have a motion to recess into executive session to discuss employment?
I make a motion.
A second, please.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Todd.
Mrs. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mrs. Walsh?
Yes.
Mrs. Bacon?
Yes.
Mrs. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Pusey?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you to everyone who came this evening. Appreciate, good to see everybody and appreciate the input.
We haven't anything come out of
I have
executive?
no idea.
Are we having anything come out of executive?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No, they did.
Just push the buttons till it shuts off.
Huh? Oh, yeah,